Hi, I'm Ella Gullickson. I am here interviewing Padmini. And you use she, her pronouns, correct?
Yep.
Okay. She is a past intern for Concussion Alliance. I'm just going to be asking her a few questions. Um, yeah. So Padmini, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'm Padmini, she, her. I did a summer internship at Concussion Alliance last summer, and it was really great. Got a lot of fun information about concussions, and uh, it was really enlightening because COVID was happening kind of during that time as well. So I got to kind of think about both COVID and concussions, which is very cool to see.
Awesome. Okay. So I have a few questions. What when did you start working with Concussion Alliance? You said last summer. So would that
Yeah,
be 2023 or 2022?
it would have been 2022. So it was like not this summer, but last.
Yeah.
Um, so I started working with them around like when school ended around June or I forget the exact date. Um, but I think I was with them for about 10 weeks over the summer and we got like a variety of programming. I don't know how in depth you'd like me to go into all of these, but ask
I,
me to elaborate if you'd like.
I think the other questions will sort of cover that, so I don't want you to be repeating yourself.
Okay.
But what drew you into Concussion Alliance?
Yeah, so I'm I have been thinking about kind of science in general and my place in science. So I'm a junior in college, and I mean, last year I would have been a sophomore, 1 year younger. But I've kind of been thinking like what I want to do post graduation. So Concussion Alliance was a cool way to learn some science because while I was there, I read a lot of science like articles, studies, basically. So like formal literature. So I got a lot of good experience in that area, and I wanted to kind of get exposure to this specific area as well as like the skills of science writing, just as a base level understanding.
I think that's a really smart thing to do. I think it's really important for like someone who wants to go into STEM to start learning how to most effectively read all those articles and glean the most information that you can, even if you're not like an expert on that subject. Like I've been having to learn how to do that too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Hopefully you've had some fun too.
yeah, for sure. Um, what were some highlights of your Concussion Alliance internship?
Yeah. I guess I really liked the our like final project type situation where I was kind of talking about this, but we got to kind of choose a topic based on what Connor and Malika had chosen on like a web page that they would like for their site. And so I really liked creating it. My web page was on long COVID and persistent post-concussion symptoms. So that was, like I said, I really enjoyed looking into that. So that made it really enjoyable.
Yeah, I was looking at some of your work earlier today, and I think it's like I've never thought that there was sort of a common theme between long COVID and persistent post-concussive symptoms. So I think that's really cool. Um, what was what was your biggest takeaway from relating COVID to concussion?
Well, um, I guess my biggest takeaway in general and not completely relating to the topic was just that there are so many interrelated things going on, and that was really cool to see, just in terms of like I mean, generalizations are made, and that's nice, but like these are two things that seemed so unrelated, and it was cool to see that some of the same treatment situations could be applied to patients with long COVID. And I don't know, it was like it was very, very new when I was looking at it too. So the studies that I was looking at were literally like just published, like maybe a couple months, a month or so, and it felt like I was on like the cutting edge, which was really great, like a really great feeling.
Yeah, that's really cool. You were definitely on the cutting edge. That's really cool. I bet it felt like you were um right out there on the front lines with all those researchers doing all the work. So that's really cool. Um, what was it like writing for newsletter synopses?
Yeah. Um, the newsletter synopses were nice as well because basically we got to read a current study and summarize it in about 300 words, which sometimes was a little hard to do because there was a lot to unpack and translate. But I feel like it made me understand the literature much better because I was like translating something that was all science talk into something that the general public could understand with like a very, very base level knowledge. And so that made me dig into more of the words that I was seeing, more of the like technical jargon. And I feel like it made me um, better at reading scientific literature and also gave me new perspectives because all of concussion literature that I had been reading was about long COVID and concussion. So I got like some new material about concussion, the synopses.
That's really cool. So you would say that the synopses helped you understand the long COVID stuff that you were reading too?
Um, I guess kind of. One of them was about inflammation, which is also seen in long COVID. So yeah, I would say kind of. It's like peripheral, yeah. There was one that I did on electroacupuncture. I had just looked up these just to make sure that I knew what they were. Um, but there was one on electroacupuncture, and I don't think that's been completely tested with long COVID because it's fairly new with concussion as well. As far as when I was reading it, it was fairly new. So I I wouldn't say they're completely related, but it did like deepen my understanding of concussion as a whole.
Um, did you have a favorite synopses that you wrote?
Yeah. Um, I did really like the inflammation one just because I think I liked looking up all the technical terms and being able to um, kind of glean more information from what they're saying because the article is literally filled with words that I don't know on my first read through, which is very scary and intimidating, but I feel like it was my first one that I did, and it felt really good to be able to translate what was being said into different language and understanding it better and being able to create a cool article from it.
So it was like the learning arc that made it your favorite, you would say?
Yeah, probably.
Um, what made you want to come back to Concussion Alliance as a volunteer?
Um, I guess I'm still interested in concussions. Like, I don't think I'll ever just lose interest. Uh, I have been writing a couple synopses. I think I've written two since I left last year, like after my internship with them. Um, but I feel like it's a good area of research, and I think the mission of Concussion Alliance is really great, just spreading knowledge to people who may not know as much about concussion because it is so important. And I feel like, I mean, times are changing and people are giving concussions more weight, but I feel like sometimes people just don't understand that problems are problems, and I I really I identify with the mission of Concussion Alliance, so I just think it's something that interests me. So that's why I've been continuing.
Yeah, concussions are a really big public health issue, obviously, and I think that there's not enough information going to the public, and that's part of the it's like a domino effect. It's back and forth. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
how, if at all, did Concussion Alliance influence your plans for the future?
It kind of cemented the fact that I do need to do something in science for my future career. Um, I guess it helped me like be able to read scientific literature. So because I am thinking about going to med school now, and that requires a lot of work and lots of technical stuff, technical terms and all of that. So I think it's made me uh more sure that I'll be able to do it, because it was definitely difficult to at first like reading a bunch of things and being like, what is this and all of that. But I think it helped me in that aspect, and also science writing is so cool. I feel like just reading stuff that other people write is great, and I have like a newfound appreciation for it.
Yeah, I think the scientific community is cool in the way that there's lots of like communication between research. I think that's a really unique area of study. And I think you can definitely do this med school thing. You seem super on top of it.
Thanks, thanks.
Um, has Concussion Alliance connected you with more externs or professionals since your internship program?
Yeah, so I haven't connected with other people. Malika has offered. Um, I just haven't. Uh, yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Um, how did the internship help you more broadly?
More broadly, I feel like as a sophomore, I was a little intimidated by doing anything pretty much, because it was like I had a ton of time over the summer and I didn't know what I was going to do, and it was like, what am I going to do for the rest of my summers and all of that. But I feel like um I don't know, Concussion Alliance, just the internship helped me uh kind of deal with my time and learn that there are opportunities out there that I'll find that I want to do. And I was I had been looking for weeks, and I was like, there's nothing that interests me, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. But it was really nice to find this opportunity. Actually, a friend who I did the internship with showed me this and told me I should apply, and that was really nice. So I guess it just told me that I can, it helps me think about the fact that if there are things out there that I should find and I'll enjoy. So that was really great. Um, the community is also really great. It was good interacting with everyone that I interacted with through Concussion Alliance. So that's good.
Yeah, I feel like for everyone that first step of like, what am I gonna do is so daunting, but um I'm really glad that Concussion Alliance and just sort of taking that first step was helpful in that way. Um, did you what you learn about concussions through the internship impact your relationship with others?
Um, yeah, uh, not hugely, but just like when people mention concussions, I will look towards them and make sure that what they're saying is not like dismissive of them. And I have told people who've gotten them, like, take this seriously. Don't don't just brush it off, because it is important and you can end up with a lot of long-term things. But yeah, it's definitely given me a new perspective on like how we deal with problems. And I mean, it's also an invisible illness, so like it's kind of given me a new perspective on how we deal with those as well. Like since I've taken a class on it's called psychopathology. I took it last trimester actually. Um, basically a bunch of mental illnesses. And so those are also invisible illnesses, or however you want to categorize it. And I guess it doesn't it changes the way that I look at the world, not like how I look at people in general, but like just taking things more seriously. Sometimes we need to give things more weight than what we think, but that's just what they deserve.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really important that you're like continuing to advocate um for invisible illnesses other than concussion as well. Um, have you ever experienced a concussion?
I have not, no.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. How did your internship experience at Concussion Alliance change your perspective on how people experience concussions?
Yeah, I guess it gave me a new respect for how the brain deals with trauma. Um, I don't know if that directly answers your question. It's kind of roundabout, but it's it's crazy how the brain can just kind of take a shock, take an impact, jar around in there in the skull, and then it will bounce back eventually. I mean, it takes time. There's a lot of inflammation and all of that, but I feel like it's so cool how that happens and all the processes that go on in our brains to make it get better.
Um, I realized I hadn't asked, so this will be my last question, but are you majoring in biology or what are you majoring in?
Yeah. I am majoring in biology and potentially chemistry. So yeah,
That's super
yeah,
cool.
I am very interested in that.
Um, well, that's all I have. It was wonderful talking to you.
It was great talking to you as well. Thank you for the little interview.
No problem. Um, have a nice evening. Get home safe.
Thank you. You too.